Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewired to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewired to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am so excited to be on the microphone with you guys. I am recording on Friday, so happy Friday today, but I guess when you guys will be listening, it will be Thursday, so Friday Junior, when you guys will be listening to today's episode. I hope you guys, this week is off to a great start. I hope you guys are all doing fantastic. I know the weather here has been absolutely insane for fall. It has been so beautiful. We're so blessed. I'm so grateful to just be back on the East Coast surrounded by so many beautiful maple trees and just leaves and the red and the brown and the orange and the yellow and just all the colors. Like, it's so pretty and it just fills my heart. Me and my partner went for a beautiful lunch today up on a hill and just overlooked all of where we lived, and it just was so breathtaking and refreshing. And so I have so much gratitude on my heart and so much excitement to be jumping on here with you guys for number 68 of Rewire to Inspire. I can't believe, like, every time I say the numbers and just like seeing how much we're climbing. And I did the math the other day, and episode 100 is going to come out on Valentine's Day, which is so exciting. So definitely going to be doing an episode all about love and relationships, but that's a hot minute away. Let's focus on number 68 for today. And today's episode is one that I honestly don't know how I'm going to get my whole points across in just one podcast episode. So there might be several along this theme because I think it's more than just a conversation. It's literally a lifestyle and a way of living. But for today, I wanted to chat about if you've lost touch with your purpose, and maybe you've never really felt like you had a purpose, or maybe you feel like you look around and it seems like everybody else has all their crap together and everybody else is living their best life and has a purpose, and you might be feeling like, oh, well, I don't feel like that. And it can make us feel kind of sad, and it can make us feel crummy, and it can make us feel less than and behind and useless and just not really feel like we have a sense of belonging. And so kind of the whole reason that this episode came to surface for me is because I'm kind of noticing this whenever I go out. I'm just noticing a lot of people that I feel just don't look or in tune. And I can tell when someone's like in tune and flow and their body is content, is radiating. It's pretty easy to tell and to pick up on that energy. But I can also tell when people are feeling kind of down in the dumps and just sad and just blah. And I know that we can have just like blah and off days, but I'm noticing there's like this societal pressure lately. And whenever I walk into a store or a restaurant or somewhere, I always like take note of how I feel when I'm in that room and the energy in which I feel. And lately it's been a lot of just heaviness. And I think that it's because a lot of us have lost touch with our identity and with our purpose. And if we don't know what our purpose or our identity is, we're kind of just going through the motions. We can really get stuck feeling numb, on autopilot, dissociative, and just really disconnected. And this was kind of, I guess, assured for me when, so I work for the school board in New Brunswick where I live, and we're having a meeting to plan our mental health event that's coming up. And this room was full of community stake, key community partners and folks that work for different nonprofits and different organizations around the Moncton area. And a lot of them were expressing kind of similar trends and feels that they're seeing in high schools and with our youth, because this is a youth mental health event. And a word that kept coming up over and over and over again was that the youth don't feel a sense of belonging. They don't feel a sense of purpose. They don't feel excited about their future. They've lost touch with who they are. They've lost touch with, what's the point? And if we get to that headspace of what's the point, we really start to not care. And when we stop caring, everything in our life will begin to reiterate why we shouldn't care. So for example, we stop caring about what we eat. Our self-worth takes a hit. We stop caring if we move our body, so we just don't show up. Our self-worth and our self-esteem takes a hit. We stop caring about our schoolwork. We fall behind and we start to fail, and then we get reiterated of why we shouldn't care. And so you can really just see how that headspace can become a toxic cycle. But I also just want to validate that, I get it. I so get it. There's days that I wake up and I'm like, but I hold on to my very, very future goal on those days. But I know that for so many years of my life, I would wake up and just be like, what is literally the point? Who cares? Especially the ages of 18, 19, 20, I really struggled with just, what's the point? What's the point of going to work every day? What's the point of going to college? What's the point of this, that, and the other thing? Because I had no sense of purpose. And if we don't have a sense of purpose, we're not going to want to begin to take action. Because if we don't have a reason for why we're doing something, it becomes really hard to keep doing said thing, especially to do it consistently and long term, if we don't feel like there's even a point to do it. If you've ever had a test and you had to study for the test, would you have ever actually just sat down and studied if there wasn't a reason, if you weren't going to get tested on it? No, of course not. The reason that you studied and grinded through that is because you knew there was something at the end. And our life is kind of the same thing. What's the point of putting in the work and doing said things if we don't feel like it's for any reason or it's for any outcome? And I think that that's when we can really become stuck in life. And so my goal of today's episode is to give you some ways to begin to tap into your purpose and to find your purpose, but to also just highlight that it's okay to feel that way. It's normal to feel that way. I've been there lots of times. In fact, pretty much my whole life up until this year, I have felt like I had no purpose on this planet and honestly questioned why I was born a lot of the time, which is really, really sad to say and to hear sometimes, but it's like, we've all felt like that. So why do we pretend that we don't? Right? And so yeah, it just, having this conversation with all these community partners really made me begin to look at the world differently. And I'm realizing that I think a large majority of us have just lost touch with our purpose. And with so much societal pressure to follow a system, since we're kids, we're taught to follow a system, no wonder we feel robotic and numb and controlled. And the definition of the word purpose, I was really curious on this, and the definition of the word purpose is the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. So the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. That is the definition of purpose. And so based on that, you can see that if you don't have a reason to do something, why would you? Now, please note, this is not me saying all of life should be easy, but instead our ability to hold on to the bigger picture that holds our purpose, because we might not want to do hard things sometimes, but that is literally life. There's days that I do not want to jump on here and record. There's days I don't want to show up and do my job. But I know that once I get going and once I get doing it, I love it and I'm in flow and I get to listen back and look at my work and feel proud. And so that gives me my sense of purpose, even though I'm not saying it's always going to be easy and you're just always going to want to do said thing and you should just feel so excited all the time and life is just great and whatever. And it's yeah, life is great and life is a blessing and I'm super grateful for it. But some days also suck and some days are also really hard, and that's okay. And I think we need to normalize that it's okay to have that mindset. But my bigger goal picture for today is that I feel like a lot of us, oh, my nose is so itchy. For you watching audio, I'm so sorry. My nose is so itchy. But to ask yourself, do I feel like I've lost touch with my purpose? Do I feel like I have a purpose? Do I feel like I have a reason? Or do I feel like I've just been on autopilot? And so finding purpose in life is really one of those things that most people want. And whether we know it or not, we want it. And as nice as it sounds to find our purpose, it can also be really, really challenging to attain. And if you've never or rarely thought about your own purpose, you might have some preconceived ideas about the purpose of your life. And me just saying a couple minutes ago, like about our system, we often think our purpose in life is to be born, to go to school, to then go to school again, to then pay off debt but get married and buy the house and have the kids and rinse and repeat. We often think that that is our purpose. And I think that, yes, inherently deep within us biologically, it is our purpose to reproduce, but that's not our purpose of why we're here. We all have a reason for being here, and I can't remember the exact number. I think it's 1 in 14 trillion, I believe, is our odds of actually being born, and it might be more than that. Don't quote me on that, but it's in like the 1 in trillions that we were chosen to be here. And do you really think that the purpose of that is to just do what everybody else is doing? To just be a robot and to be a part of the system? No, of course not. And so if you've never really thought about your purpose before, just know that that might be a part of it. And if that's an alignment for you and those things excite you, then great. Maybe your purpose and your identity is family. Maybe that's where your values lie, and that's okay. And some of us have different purposes. And in fact, all of us have a different purpose. No two are the same. But the thing about those purposes is that they often don't bring any kind of fulfillment, really, that comes with finding your own personal sense of purpose and belonging in the world. And a personal sense of purpose is less of a specific end goal and more of an ongoing impact on the world or your world that surrounds you. So basically, your purpose is your why. Your purpose is your why for getting up in the morning, your why for showing up, your why for going to do the things. And if your why is because somebody else told you to, it's likely because that's not your purpose, it's theirs. Or they think that that's yours. And this is when we can really become stuck because our parents try to tell us what they think is best for us, which is often out of love and care. But that's just another human being telling another human being how they should live their life when they don't actually know any of the emotions or things that you're feeling. And so your purpose should guide and sustain you. Your purpose in life is as unique to you as your fingerprints, right? We all have different fingerprints and our purpose is no different. And your fingerprints are so unique, just like your purpose. And that's because no two of us are meant to be the same or to live the same journey. And we all hold such unique things about us and we all have such a unique destiny. And it's very important to remind ourselves of that often. To remind ourselves often that we are not supposed to be like our friend is not supposed to be like us, but instead we can both be unique, lift each other up, and become the best version of ourselves. But one thing to also note that I think is super important is that our exact purpose can change over the years and throughout our life, but it often overlaps in themes. And typically it's things that you love and enjoy doing will be tied to your purpose, to your dharma, to your reason for being here, even if you don't know what said thing is right now in this moment. And so just to kind of make it land, to give an example, I loved studying social work. Like I really, really enjoyed it. And I don't have one regret in my body that I went and took that course. And I now have that experience and a lot of experience actually in that field. But I didn't really feel like it was my divine purpose. Like I think there was a reason that I took it and I hold on to that. And I loved doing one-on-one work with clients about trauma and trauma healing and about the brain. And I became super passionate about learning more about the brain and the body and how trauma becomes stuck and educating on that. But I knew that doing counseling wasn't my full purpose. And I knew that it was only going to sustain me for so long. And I love being creative and I love using my voice. But I never really thought that that could be my purpose because I thought that those were just, my hobbies. I didn't really think that they could be my purpose. But now I'm a podcaster who gets to educate through my voice and through being creative about mental health and trauma that I learned through my social work career and through that job. But now that I'm tapping into that, I'm like, oh, okay. So the universe had a plan the whole time. But we don't always see that in the beginning. We don't always realize how emotions can be in play because we don't see that in the moment, right? And that's why I love Steve Jobs' quotes, you cannot connect the dots looking forward, only backwards. Because we sometimes don't know how things are going to line up until they begin to line up and we're like, oh, like that's why that happened, right? And so that's why I think oftentimes we find our sense of belonging and our sense of purpose typically after a traumatic event or typically after something in life has happened that has forced us to pivot our lives in a different direction. It's almost like the universe saying like, hey, you've been going the wrong way for too long. This thing's going to happen to veer you in a different direction. Let's see how you go on this path. Everything speaks to us. Everything is a sign. Everything is guiding us. But if we don't listen and see the signs and know that we're worthy, we will miss them forever. And so finding your purpose is basically finding your sense of belonging, which is really all we seek to have and feel as humans. And living a meaningful life doesn't just contribute to, us feeling good, but living a meaningful life contributes to better physical health, to better mental health. It reduces chronic stress and allows us to live a better life. Yet only 20 to 25% of us statistically actually know and have found and tap in and live every day in our purpose. Are you kidding? A fifth to a quarter of us know and live and breathe our purpose. And so that is my goal of today, is to just stir up some conversation in your mind of, am I living my purpose? Do I think that I am? Am I actually fully fulfilled? When I wake up every morning, do I have something I hold on to? Like, am I working towards something? Do I think I'm capable of more than I'm doing right now? Am I fully showing up? Am I fully happy? Do I feel a sense of belonging? And I think that asking ourselves those questions is huge, right? Because we're the only ones that can tap in and know how we feel doing certain things. And if we don't even have those hard conversations with ourselves and get to know ourselves, we will begin to follow what everybody around us is doing. And so I encourage you guys to get to know what your beliefs are, your values. Focus on the things that you're good at and that you love to do, and do them often. Because all those things that we love to do and that make us happy, that's not by default. Because if they were, we would all love doing the same things. The reason that you love doing certain things is because that's in alignment with your soul and your purpose. And so I encourage you to write a list of all the things that you love doing and doing them often and seeing what they lead to. Because for me, I just knew that I loved being creative and I knew that I wanted to use my voice, but I didn't really ever think podcasting was an option. I had bounced around the idea of having a YouTube channel, bounced around the idea of doing certain things, and I'm like, one day it just hit and dawned on me, podcasting. And I've never looked back since. I'm now on year 2 and I love it so much. But if I had just stuck to those old beliefs that I had, I never would have found this. If I just ignored all the signs in my life pointing me in this direction, I would likely still be searching. And like I said earlier, our purpose will change. Who knows? Maybe this is going to be one of those dots in my future that connects to something. Maybe it's a person I meet. Maybe it's a place I go. Maybe it's an opportunity. Maybe it's a job. I never know, but I don't know until I get there. But I know that this is where I'm supposed to be right now because I feel in flow and I feel happy and I feel content whenever I jump on here. So I know that I'm doing something right. And so I thought I was going to squeeze into today's episode some ways to find your purpose, but I'm really realizing that I think I want to divvy it up into 2 episodes because there's a lot that I want to say about ways that we can begin to find our purpose. So today's episode is really about questions to begin to ask yourself and a reflective moment for yourself before we dive into ways to find our purpose. Because I think that until we do that, we have to take time to just sit with ourselves for a moment, to reflect on our lives for a moment, and then we can get into some deeper ways to take action. But taking some time to reflect and sit with yourself and just tend to your own life, your needs, your feelings, what's coming up, and then we'll dive right in my next episode. So on Tuesday, this is coming out on Thursday. So on Tuesday, let's dive into some ways of how you can begin to find your purpose. And we're going to really dive deep on that episode on how to do so. So I truly hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope that it allowed you to just take a moment to ask yourself, do I feel like I've been living in alignment? Do I feel like I've really tapped into my purpose? Do I feel a sense of belonging? Or do I think maybe I want to implement some of the things that I'm going to learn on this podcast next week and begin to tap into that even further? And if there's even a part of you, if there's even a little voice in the back of your mind going, I think we can excel our lives a little bit more, then I encourage you to hold on to that there's more for you out there. And we all cap our potential like so short. We're so easy to just like think that we're only worthy of a certain amount, but you're worthy of literally anything you work towards. If your dream is to be a multi-millionaire, you can do it, but you have to be willing to work for it. If you want to be a successful author, that's great. Do you know how many successful authors that are? What makes you any different? We have to know, again, our worth in what room. Don't lose touch with your beliefs, and don't just tell yourself a story of, oh, I could never do that. If you've already told yourself you can't do something and that's why you're not taking action, that is where you need to start. So thank you guys so much from my heart to yours for tuning into episode number 68 of Rewire to Inspire. I truly hope you guys enjoyed. I am so excited to jump on the mic with you guys on Tuesday to help you find some more ways to deepen your sense of purpose, to find your purpose, and to hopefully just rewire some of those neural pathways in your mind of that you're worthy of that you can do that, but that you have to be willing to put in the work and have the belief that it's even possible and that it's possible for you. So thank you guys so much. All the love as always. I look forward to chatting with you guys next week. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at JessieBrown13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.